thank you for joining us. The Cannon Area Senior Center, Cooking with the BASC, featuring Union House Coffee Cafe. So we have to do
Union Coffee House and Cafe.
There we go, Union Coffee House and Cafe.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're so excited about being here. Molly is the owner, is that correct? And she's going to be sharing her famous peanut butter cookies.
Yes.
And we're pretty excited that we're very grateful that she's taken this opportunity, not only out of her workday, but also sharing a recipe for us and for you to use. And I'm going to hand this over to Molly as she gets started. She's going to show us what she's prepared and let us know about her.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm going to show you guys today how we make our peanut butter cookies. They are very popular. They've been around since about 2011 or 12. A couple years after we opened, I started making them. I got the recipe from a former barista who went on to become a pastry chef. We opened the coffee house in 2010, my family and my father and I are still the owners. He doesn't live in the area, so he's a silent owner, but I'm the manager, and I have about 5 baristas, and between me and most of the baristas, we take turns making the cookies pretty much every day because they're that popular.
That is amazing.
It's a very simple recipe. It has really just 4 or 5 ingredients, peanut butter obviously, sugar, eggs, baking soda, and vanilla. There's no flour in them, which makes them gluten-free, but basically they're just flourless.
A lot of people like to hear that.
Yeah. I guess I'll just get right into it. I already preheated the oven to 350, a typical baking temperature. And then I have some nonstick pans here that I'm going to lightly oil up so that they're all ready to go. Cooking spray works too, but I like to just take a little napkin and smear some olive oil on it because that's what I have on hand. But it's very, very light. So if you use spray, just take it easy on it. You don't want a lot, just a little bit to help the peanut butter stop from sticking to the hot tray. So those are oiled up and ready to go. By the time we have the dough ready, the oven will be ready and we can pop them right in. First I'll start with our eggs. We do 2 eggs. We get all of our eggs from Hebron Farms. They are out of Vandalia, and you can find them at the Buchanan Farmers Market on Market Saturdays, which start the first Saturday in May. Crack them in the bowl and watch for shells. Thank you.
You're pretty close, I didn't get too involved.
That's perfect. So basically we start with our wet ingredients first, which is really only one, which is the eggs. And then I mix in the sugar. It's 2 cups of sugar. So 2 eggs, 2 cups of sugar, white sugar, granulated, 2 teaspoons of vanilla. You can use clear or brown, regular or imitation, your choice, how much money you want to spend. I like to use clear imitation because it's easy to get and it smells really good. And then 2 teaspoons of baking soda. This is a very easy recipe to remember because everything comes in some form of the number 2. 2 eggs, 2 cups of sugar, 2 teaspoons, 2 teaspoons, and then 2 cups of peanut butter when we get to it. That's the hard part. As you can see, I'm going to use a whisk instead of a mixer, but if you have a mixer, like a KitchenAid or even a hand mixer, I recommend using it because it's easier and less arm strength required. But you're going for the same result.
Is there a difference between an electric mixer and then a hand mixer? Do you notice the fluffiness or the way that it blends?
Well, I have noticed, and without the mixer, I used a Sun-made Mix Master for a long time until I used it up, the engine. And then I went back to the whisk, and it was just one less piece of equipment to try to maintain. But you really have to get on it with your arm strength with the whisk.
Okay.
Where with the mixer, you just turn on, walk away, and it does it for you. But I do this constantly, all the time, so I've gotten pretty good at it. But I do recommend if you have the mixer to go ahead and use it. But what you're going for, and this is what I tell my baristas and kitchen staff, is that when you're mixing it, you want to be listening and you want to stop. You want to be able to not hear the sugar granules hit the side of the bowl anymore, and that means that they've dissolved into the yolks and the whites of the eggs and they've become a liquid. So you're whipping the liquid and the sugar together. And that makes a really big difference when the final product comes out.
That is great information.
If the sugar and the eggs aren't mixed together all the way, the cookies will come out kind of flat and granulated and melty looking instead of light and fluffy, to answer your question. So the more you whisk it, the lighter in color it gets. And that's kind of what you're going for, almost like a meringue color. Show you here. Yes. And obviously with brown vanilla, it tints it a little bit browner, and that's totally normal. So yeah, it's in there. This is the second time I made these today. So my arm's nice and warmed up.
Now, how many dozens do you normally make in a day then?
This batch will make about 22 cookies.
Oh, wow.
Because I make them that big. If you make them a little bit smaller, when you roll them, you'll get more cookies out of them.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have the peanut butter. And another peanut butter tip is that if you have the ability to visualize what a cup of peanut butter looks like, I suggest you take that route rather than trying to scoop peanut butter into a measuring cup and then scoop it back out. Peanut butter is so sticky and you never get what you end up creating more work for yourself. So, like I said, I've done this enough times, twice today, so I like to visualize. And I always put a little bit more, but the recipe calls for 2 cups. So this
Oh my gosh, that looks so good.
yeah, that would be about 1. This would be about 2. And I always do another little small one just on the safe side. The kind of peanut butter you use is important when you're making these cookies, because a lot of different peanut butter brands have added ingredients. And since we already have 2 cups of sugar, I recommend that you use a peanut butter that doesn't have any added sugar. But if it does have added sugar, then you just use a little bit less, because you want the sugar and the peanut butter ratio to balance out. Natural peanut butters are good too, but as long as they're mixed together and the oil isn't sitting on the top, if that makes sense. So then we're back at it with the whisk, and we're going to mix the peanut butter into the egg and sugar mixture, until it's all smooth and blended together. This is another time when a mixer would come in very handy. I like my whisk, but if I had a mixer, I'd probably be using it right now.
I probably did one out for you.
That's okay. I've got the technique down so they come out the same every time, so
You know what you're doing.
don't mess with it if it's not broken.
Yeah. Now, how long have you been cooking then? I mean, just like as you as an individual.
Well, I cooked in the kitchen with my mom growing up, and I started to gather recipes from my grandma's over the years and try them out at home. And that kind of led to my interest in, I guess, being a foodie. And I have a lot of restaurant experience from the time I was 14 until we opened the coffee house. But I never worked in a kitchen, so creating all of our recipes for the coffee house when we opened was the first time I tackled the back of the house aspect of a restaurant.
Okay.
So really I've been doing it since about a year before we opened. And I did create all of our recipes, and I've created all of our menus over the years.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize this, how time goes by so quickly.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it's been that, to me, it feels like you guys just opened up just like a year or so ago.
Well, it snuck up on me a little bit.
Yeah.
and we celebrated our 10-year last year during the shutdown, so it took a little bit of the 10-year anniversary glory away, but we're still happy to be there. And we've been there long enough now to see other places come and go and be able to be a part of community action, and it's fun.
Are you originally from Buchanan?
In a way, I went to Buchanan High School. I graduated in 2000.
Okay.
So after I get done whisking, I take my flat spatula and I don't know if you can see, but I mix the two together so that you can no longer see the egg mixture and you can only basically see the peanut butter color. When you're using a mixer to do this, it does it for you, but it gets stuck to the sides, so you do have to constantly stop, scrape it back into the middle, just like I'm doing now, whisk or mixer. And you'll know it's ready to go when you no longer see any sugary egg liquidy parts coming out. So that's just really just, this is the hardest part. If there is a hard part to making cookies.
So how did the Union Coffee House and Cafe come into play? Was that a dream? Was it serendipity?
I would say it was more serendipity than a dream.
Okay.
With all my restaurant industry experience, I was more than capable of opening something and continuing it, or continuing in that industry. But I think what really drove us to open it was when it was coming off the recession, and downtown was starting to come back alive a little bit, and the antique stores were coming in, and buildings were getting rehabbed, and newer people were moving to town. And I had just moved back from the Grand Rapids area, and I thought, I spent so much time in coffee houses and cafes up there, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought there might be a need for it in town, or at least there were people that might enjoy it like I did when I lived in the city. So I told my parents about my idea, and they thought it was great, and we went with it.
Yeah, and how did you find your location? Because your location is like...
Yes, our location is great.
Yeah, and just the whole feel, it even feels like, you know, like an old, tiny cafe. Was it a cafe before in the past, like years ago?
It was not. When I was growing up and in high school, it was an advertising firm.
Oh, okay.
And then before we leased it and redid the inside, it had just sat empty and used as storage for quite a while. So we looked for a few months, I want to say on the better side of 6 months, for the perfect location. I saw a lot of insides of buildings downtown, and we ended up with that one, which I couldn't be happier about because the location is great. But we did have to clean it out and redo the inside.
Okay.
And that building was originally built as a bank in the 1800s, and it was the Union State Bank. So while we were renovating the inside and trying to decide what to name the cafe, we were coming across a lot of Union State Bank history, and then we just decided that it would be the perfect name for it, to call it the Union Coffee House and Cafe.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Mm-hmm.
See, I love doing this kind of stuff because we get to learn.
Yep. It was my little brother who actually came up with it.
Okay. Oh.
He was graduating from Buchanan around that time and headed off to start his own college life, and he was excited for us, and he said, you know, you should name it after the bank it was built to be. And I just thought it was great. So
That is great.
yeah.
Oh.
The bank vault is in the basement, but they had a day vault upstairs where they kept change and things like that, and that is where our kitchen is located.
Okay.
So one of the reasons I'm doing this video here at the senior center is because our kitchen is so small, because it used to be a vault. So there's no way we could have both fit in there with a camera. So here we are.
Oh.
Yeah. So here is the peanut butter cookie dough, and it's ready to be rolled and put onto the trays, which I will do. At work, when the baristas do it, I have them use a scale for uniformity so that every cookie is 2 ounces. So every time someone buys one from us, they're getting the exact same size as the next person. I did not bring the scale because I can pretty much feel what 2 ounces feels like in my hand. But if you're making this at home, I would say try to make a 2-inch size ball, which comes out to about a 2-ounce weighted cookie.
There you go, 2 again.
So this is a recipe of 2s. So a 2-inch size ball, nice and rolled up, tight. And you'll be able to tell if your dough isn't ready because it'll be too soft in your hands and it'll get stuck to your gloves. But as you can see, I'm rolling it and I've got cleanish gloves, and a 2-inch ball is about this big. And they lay down while they're baking, so you want to place them about 2 inches apart. There's that number 2 again.
That's so clever.
Yeah. So I'll get about 22 to 24 cookies out of this batch, probably. We'll see. If you want more, just make them a little bit smaller.
And what kind of other foods did you have? Like, what are your hours? What do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about
Well,
the cafe.
we're open 7 days a week. Right now, coming off of the shutdown of the pandemic, we're only open in the daytime. So weekdays, we're open from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have all your traditional Italian-style espresso drinks that we make off of our espresso machine. The baristas make them by hand to order, so they come out hot and fresh, high quality and delicious. We have a pretty big selection of teas. We have what we like to call basic coffee, which is just your regular medium roast or dark roast coffee where you could get cream and sugar added, which is probably the most popular item we sell. We make yogurt-based smoothies, sweetened with honey instead of sugar. Keep them on the healthy side. We make homemade lemonade that we like to flavor with your choice of lavender syrup, or we make homemade rosemary syrup, which is my personal favorite these days. And in our kitchen, our tiny kitchen where all the magic happens, we make about 85–90% of our items are made from scratch, like these cookies. We offer bagels and bagel sandwiches and sandwiches and wraps for lunchtime. All of our soups are homemade and vegetarian base. We've got some salads and a couple of, I guess, house items. One of them is the black bean and avocado plate that's been on the menu since we opened, and it's ciabatta toast points piled high with black bean spread, cucumbers, tomatoes, avocado, alfalfa sprouts, olive oil, and sea salt, and it is really popular.
It's probably the most popular item, would you say?
It's one of the most popular, yeah. It is what I like to consider a California-style bruschetta.
Oh.
Because it's got the tomato and avocado and cucumber on it. It is very popular. And then other baked goods we rotate between lemon rosemary and cinnamon scones, vegan carrot muffins, which are very popular, blueberry muffins, chocolate chip cookies, raspberry bars, lemon bars. Let's see if I'm missing anything. And then we have some retail items for sale on the counter, like orange juice, or we carry Circle City cans of kombucha, bottled water, chocolate covered espresso beans, little treats, last minute items at the counter. And we are open for dine-in at the 50% capacity for now. So we've only got enough seats out for how many people we're allowed to have in. But we are wrapping everything to go and plan to add 2 more outdoor seating options to our existing outdoor seating options for this summer. We also do curbside by request, and you can order online, order and pay online on our website, unioncoffeehouse.com, which is a new addition to our services. That's something I added to my skill set in 2020 was online store creation.
Yeah, we're all learning, or have learned to do things a little differently.
Yeah.
Like this, you know, these videos is new.
It's kind of fun.
It is.
All right, let's see. This one will be a little baby one, but there's always extra dough on your whisk or your beaters. You can add to your last cookie. I've made these cookies so many times, not just for us to sell, but for families to take to events. Made them for a few graduation parties last year. For the holidays, we ran a take and bake promo where I made the dough and packaged it up, and then you took it home and baked them off at home.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The last step before we bake them is to get those famous peanut butter crisscross lines on each cookie. So I can get cold water out of here.
Yes, I don't know if either one is fine.
The trick with the fork is to keep a little cup of cold water nearby. Hot water, the fork will stick to the cookie. Cold water, it'll come right up. And really all we're doing is decorating the cookie with the fork lines. So you don't want to put too much pressure on them when you're putting them on, because then they'll get too flat when you're baking. So I just do 2 on each direction, little crisscrosses on the top of each little cookie ball without pressing down too hard, with cold water instead of hot. Learned that one the hard way. It was a very busy chili walk day about 4 or 5 years ago, and we ran out of cookies, and I was in the back trying to whip some out really fast, and I couldn't figure out why my fork kept getting stuck. So the water was too hot. So these cookies will bake at 350 for 11 to 12 minutes. That's not very long, just long enough to get them kind of hardened up. But the trick to them keeping together, because I don't have any flour, is that you have to let them cool for 10 to 15 minutes on the tray before you try to move them.
Oh, okay.
They have to get hot and hardened up, and then when they cool off, they sort of like solidify into their shape. They are very delicate, and that's the very first thing we tell people when they buy them at the counter at the cafe, is we say they're delicious, but they're delicate, so be careful. A broken cookie tastes just as good as a whole cookie, though.
That's right.
We'll find a spot in the oven for these, and we'll let them do their thing. I didn't hear it beep, but it should be ready, right?
I don't think so. Does it feel warm in there?
Yes.
Okay.
I was too busy listening to myself talk.
This is so exciting. They look so wonderful.
Yeah. So I'll set an alarm for 11 minutes and
Okay. And we're going to turn off the video. You guys will not see this, but we're going to go ahead and pause it, and then we'll start the video right back up when they come out of the oven. Thank you.
Okay, so here's our finished product. So gluten-free good peanut butter cookies. They're cooling off right now, and in about 5 minutes or so, they'll be nice and ready to be moved off the trays. I don't recommend cooling them on a cooling rack, just let them cool right on the tray, and then transfer them to wherever you're going to keep them at, on a plate, right into your mouth because they're delicious, or into a Tupperware to share with a friend. This has been really fun sharing this recipe with you, and I hope you enjoy.
I'm going to take this off for a second. Molly, thank you so much. It was so enjoyable to get to know Molly. It was enjoyable to get to know more information about the Union Coffee House and Cafe.
Yep.
I do have a gift card. I need to go down and get my lunch real quick here one of the next few weeks.
Yep.
So exciting. My goodness, I wish that you were here. You can smell this. It smells so yummy, and the beauty of them is amazing. So we are so very, very grateful that Molly did take the time and to share this special recipe with you and all of us. We do appreciate you. Very grateful. Thank you so kindly.
Thank you. I had so much fun.
And if you have any questions, just let us know. This is the Buchanan Area Senior Center. I'm Diana, the program coordinator. We're so happy that you joined us. You have a wonderful day. Blessings, everyone.
How fun.
Isn't it?
I can now say I've participated in